There are some great new survey results that have recently come out from the Digital Education Council. So this is a huge survey that was done with students in higher education. This also encompassed undergraduates as well as those seeking master's degrees and PhDs. The powerful thing about this is that this was a huge survey. It had about 4,000 different students, and this was across 16 different countries. Now, there's some really big, important findings that is really important for all of us in academia to really look at, really understand, and really see that this is impactful and this really needs to be addressed. So the first big one here is that 86% of students are already using AI. So this is 86% of students already using AI in their studies. And if we break that down even further, it talks about here how 24% of those students use it every single day, every single day. 54% use it at least weekly. So that's daily or weekly, 54%. Now, what's interesting there is that every time that I have a new batch of students, right, a new class, I ask my students who here is already using AI. And now starting from last semester, I get 99% of them that say, yes, I use AI. I use it in different ways to help me. So this really puts an exclamation point there in that this is saying 86% of students around the world are fully using AI. They're already using it, and up to 54% are stating that they use it every day or at least weekly. So that's a big thing for us to understand that, hey, this is really here. Yes, our students are obviously definitely using it. So that's important. And that's something for us to keep in mind as we decide, well, how are we going to manipulate our course in order to be the most effective in order to develop their skills. Going further with the breakdown here, this is a really interesting finding too. It says that on average, students use 2.1 AI tools when they're going through and using it. Number one, of course, being ChatGPT. A close second is Grammarly, and then Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini is on there, Perplexity is on there, and then there's different ones. But you see how ChatGPT is used quite a bit, and then Grammarly, something that a lot of us have our students use, and I made a completely separate video talking about how AI is fully integrated into Grammarly. It's as if you're using ChatGPT as well, because it allows you to simply hit a button to generate new text or to create new content, because it's all part of Grammarly as well. So it's not surprising that the big one is ChatGPT and then Grammarly and Copilot. So these are important things for us to consider as well. How are they using it? They're using it to search for information, grammar checking, summarizing documents, paraphrasing a document, as well as to create a first draft. Again, something to think about. So that shows us that students are definitely using it, but what do they think about AI as far as the skills that they have, their own level of AI literacy? So that's a key thing to understand here. And the great thing is that this survey addressed that as well. When asked the question, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement? I have sufficient AI knowledge and skills. A whopping 58% of students stated that they do not have sufficient AI knowledge and skills. So again, this is really important for us to see that, hey, AI literacy is needed. Even the students themselves, a majority of them are saying, yeah, I really don't have enough skills. I really don't know this enough. And those other people, the other, 40%, they, I think, are not understanding, right? Because it's one thing to be able to use it and to be using it pretty well, but it's another to really be effective and to understand all the ethical implications that go along with using the AI properly. So this is an important statistic to keep in mind. This is another big one here, this question of to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement? I feel prepared for a future workforce that heavily utilizes AI. 48%, half of the students do not feel adequately prepared for an AI enabled workplace. That should be a big wake up call for all of higher academia, right? This understanding that right now in 2024, half of the students that are being surveyed say that they don't feel properly ready. They don't feel ready to go into a workforce that is already using AI. And more jobs are definitely incorporating AI into their processes, into their systems. So they're expecting students to have AI capabilities. That's a growing thing that's being shown that all these businesses are looking for. So when a student creates their resume, they need to be putting things such as, oh yeah, I have AI literacy skills. That's something that's come up more and more, that's a big skill that's being required almost on a resume if you want to properly compete in the workforce. Now this is the major thing that I wanted to be sure to share with all of you, and that's that 80% of students say that AI in university is not fully meeting their expectations. 80%. That's unbelievable. 80% of students report that their university AI integration does not fully meet their expectations. That's pretty powerful. That is a clear indication of the university letting down their students. So whether that's an issue of leadership, whether that's an issue of policies, faculty senate, I'm looking in your direction, or whether that's an issue of us instructors, it all comes together, right? 80% of students feel like their university is letting them down. That is really something that we need to address. Here's a quick summary that really breaks down at least the key aspects of why students feel so let down by their universities. Here's one that states that 59% expect that their universities to increase the use of AI in teaching and learning. Of course they do. Of course they do. 59%, 60% basically, are saying, hey, I was expecting my university to use AI much more in their teaching and learning, but they're not. So that's something that can easily be addressed by us stepping up and seeing the need, seeing that this is a skill that they have to develop, that they want to develop, that they understand they need to develop. Well, we have to do that as well. We have to integrate this AI so that the students can better understand. I've done videos in the past talking about the continuum of integration, right? There's many different ways to do that, but we need to start doing that so that students see that, yeah, AI is a tool and it can be harnessed in the proper way, but it has to be done effectively and properly, right? So that we don't fall into this issue of academic misconduct. But we have to have training on that. We have to know how to use it, right? And that's the second piece that gets mentioned here as well. It states that 73% agree that universities should be providing training for faculty on the effective use of AI tools. 73%. So three-fourths of all the students realize, oh yeah, universities should be providing this training to their faculty. So that comes through professional development, that comes through courses, that comes through conferences, guest speakers, all sorts of things. That needs to be happening in the university. And this survey really brings that out, especially if we have the students telling us this. That should be a huge wake-up call to all universities that, hey, the students are feeling let down and they understand that training is needed for our instructors. And that's one thing that I've been pushing for forever, right? Since this whole thing began, is talking about that in order for us to properly develop AI literacy for our students, well, we need to develop AI literacy. And when I say we, of course, the instructors, the faculty, but this is also important for all the staff, all the support personnel. They need to develop these capabilities as well. And that goes for the library, that goes for the writing and math center. They need to know, well, how can AI be used to help the student in that learning process, to help that student conduct research. All these different components within the university, they need to be able to use AI to that high level of capability so that they can help the students develop that high level of capability as well. The next section here talks about how 72% of students agree that universities should provide training for students on the effective use of AI tools. Basically the same thing we just talked about. It's the AI literacy that's needed isn't just for the faculty, but for the students as well, of course, because they realize they need that. And then 72% agree that universities should offer more courses on AI literacy. That's an interesting finding, right? Three-fourths of the students are talking about, hey, they realize that they need these AI literacy skills, so they're looking for those specific skills. They're thinking, oh, it should be a course so I can develop these skills. Now, the big thing, I push back on that because one of the things that I talk about in one of the recent books that I've written, as far as a 9-point plan to help integrate AI into education, is this idea of, okay, maybe an AI literacy course is okay for right now, but what really needs to happen is AI literacy needs to be fully integrated throughout all of the educational process, throughout the curriculum. So that means that SLOs within each course, they now should have some sort of aspect as far as an AI literacy component. So in the past, we've had different things as far as like critical thinking, right? That's in a bunch of different courses. Well, we should also have AI literacy as listed as that's an SLO within this course as well. It needs to be integrated within every single major. This isn't just a computer science thing. This is an everything thing, right? It doesn't matter what your degree is, whether it's English, whether it's business, chemistry, you need AI literacy skills. You need AI literacy skills in order to put content together, in order to do research, in order to not get scammed, in order to understand how AI is affecting society. All these different components are part of AI literacy that you need regardless of the major. So this is a great finding, but again, my push is to say that AI literacy really needs to be integrated within the entire curriculum at all levels. I also wanted to highlight this, which was, again, really great information, how students value timely assistance, guidance, and training on AI. The number one thing there is 24/7 assistance, chatbot answering questions. That's really powerful. And that's where I think that all instructors can really use AI to help the overall teaching and learning process is by creating an AI assistant. So there's many different ways to do this. There's several different places that can offer this. But if you could create an AI assistant, so this is an AI that's dedicated to your course, so it would have specific information about your course. So if a student were to ask a question about your topic, it would get information that you put into it. So it would be a data set that you would provide the AI assistant, so it would use that first. I talked about this in my last video where we were talking about open source AI, and one of the big benefits there is their ability to create AI assistants. So definitely check out that video. But that is something that students really like, they really benefit from, and it can definitely help them in their educational experience to be able to have that 24 access when you're not available. Again, the big thing here to understand is that we're not talking about AI taking over and replacing teachers. Get that notion out of your head. Sure, that's going to happen. That's already happened in many other places for many other things. We have courses that don't have instructors. We have all sorts of things like that, right? But we're not talking about that. For the vast majority, what we want is AI to be able to assist the instructor, to be able to help that student to improve the overall educational experience by having that student have more personalization, by having a one-to-one ratio, in essence, by being able to have an AI assistant like that. And that's something that the survey clearly indicates that students really appreciate as well. Another big thing here is 60% of students worry about fairness of AI evaluations. So that's something that's very important that we have to continue to address. Whenever I am teaching and I have an assignment, I always sit down with my students. I go over the assignment, what's expected, what are the SLOs, and then I talk specifically about AI. I tell them, this is my plan. This is how I would like you to use AI. What do you think about that? Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's too much usage of AI? Should we use more AI? What are your thoughts? And we have two-way communication. I always appreciate their feedback, and then we come to an understanding. We agree upon how much AI usage is appropriate for this. Again, we go back and forth, and I try to give my evidence as to why I think, but this takes real purposeful action. This takes me, before I give my assignment, really thinking it through. What would be appropriate use of AI for this? If I allow them to use AI to answer some question, is that missing the point? What's the process that I want them to go through with this assignment in order to really learn? So now we're talking about different aspects of when we design our actual assignment and assessment. And that goes back to the share technique that I've talked about in the past. There's definitely great value in understanding the share technique. So I'll make sure to have a link in the description as well as in the comments, because the power there is that by thinking about AI and understanding that it is now a freely available tool, we can adjust our assignments to help the student understand and to help the student go through the process of what we want them to go through in order to really learn the material. So it's not just about the end product, but it's about the process. Both are important, and the share technique helps with that. But you can see how the fairness aspect, this is a major concern of students. So we need to make sure that we explain things thoroughly to them. We have an AI use statement within our syllabus, that always helps. But we go through the instructions every time we have an assignment and we talk about AI. And we might even mention it within the rubric so that they understand, hey, AI, we are fully understanding that AI is a tool and we're thinking about how to incorporate it when it's appropriate, when it's not, and making purposeful decisions about that and making sure to communicate that to the students so that they're fully aware. I was also really interested to see this survey result talking about over-reliance on AI and how that concerns more than 50% of students. So this is 55% of students believe over-reliance on AI in teaching decreases the value they receive. And then 52% of students believe over-reliance on AI negatively impacts their academic performance. That's a major issue, and I've made a video about that in the past as well, which is really important because there are things that we can do as instructors to address over-reliance. So we have to understand that that's a real thing, that's a real issue, that's a danger that can occur when we have such a powerful tool. And whether that's over-reliance by the instructor using it too much or over-reliance by the student, those are important things that we need to know about. This is part of our own AI literacy development. So if I'm using the AI to do all my grading, let's say, well, then I might not know my student properly. So we have to have a proper balance. Now, I'm in favor of using AI for grading on some levels, but not for everything. And I still need to make sure that I fully understand what is my student going through, what is my student's strengths and weaknesses. I need to know that. So it's important for us to use the AI tool properly and effectively. If I use the AI tool to create a test for me, right, to create a quiz for me, I still have to go through the review process. I still have to know the content that's in there. Why? Because I'm the instructor, so that means I am the subject matter expert. So I need to make sure that the content is of high value and that it will really help that student in that learning process. So again, this plays a huge role as far as me being fully part of the course and not just using the AI as a crutch to do everything for me, because that's not going to be effective and that's going to cause more problems. So we have to make sure that we're also role modeling the proper way of using the AI and still being fully knowledgeable about what's going on, the students, as well as the content. Now, going over to the student side, it's going to be a tool that many students will use, so we need to make sure that they know how to use it appropriately. We have to discuss with them, hey, what is the appropriate way to use this? What's academic misconduct? There's a fine line with a lot of this. In a previous video, I talked about how a student could use AI to put in their entire essay if they wanted to, right? And then also put in the rubric and say, hey, give me feedback on my essay based off of this rubric. So that's like a second pair of eyes. That's part of the 7-step writing process. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I put in the prompt to ask the AI to go through it and give me feedback, I need to make sure that I put in the phrase, do not rewrite this for me. Because if I don't do that, well, then I'm using the AI inappropriately, and then I can fall very easily into over-reliance because it's doing all the work for me. No, what I need is to get some feedback and then use that feedback to myself go through the essay and address those issues so I'm fully cognizant of what's going on within my essay. Those are some things to understand in order so that I don't fall into using it too much and for over-reliance. Other aspects are simply understanding the term over-reliance. Many students have never heard of it. So we have to make sure that they understand so that they can avoid it. So it's about these discussions that we have in class. We need to make sure that we bring it up. Over-reliance also spills into something beyond using it within the classroom or using it for learning, in that more and more students will be using and interacting with AI for all of their issues, whether it's social situations or other problems that they might have. They're going to use AI more and more as a companion, as a friend, and that could go into aspects of emotional over-reliance on the AI. We need to be aware of that as well so that we can help our students understand, hey, what's appropriate use, what's overuse, what's over-reliance. So there's a lot to unpack there dealing with over-reliance. So I highly recommend this survey for everyone to go through and read through. It breaks it down into lots of different subcategories and different aspects that is really beneficial. Highly recommended to everyone in leadership and academia so that you can see some clear evidence that yes, we definitely need to live up to the standards of what higher academia is supposed to be all about, being leaders and not just reactionary, right? So we have to make sure that we are addressing all the issues that are brought up by this great survey. So I'm going to make sure to link it up in the description as well as in the comments. And I would really like for you to go through the survey, look at it, and then us have more of a discussion. What are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts on the number of students that are using it throughout the world? What are your thoughts on their concerns, on the things that they bring up here, as well as the issues here with over-reliance? Please make a comment in the comment section so that we can continue to discuss this, because this is vitally important for all of us in higher academia so that we can address these issues so that we can best prepare our students for the world that's continually evolving very quickly into, as always, enhance overall educational experience for everyone involved, the students, the faculty, and the staff. All right, thank you everyone, and remember, learning is for life.